Good afternoon, and thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you all can all hear me okay. For those of you that I have not spoken to before, my name's Helen. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Brightpearl, and I'm joined today by Tom Bond from PHP Genie. I'll hand over to Tom now and introduce today's subject.
Hi, thank you very much for joining us. It's really great that you're all here. So I'm the Partnerships Manager at PHP Genie. You should see hopefully our names and our, one back, there we are. Okay, so that's who we are. So PHP Genie is, we're a growing web development team based in Newport, and we specialise in e-commerce, API and CMS development. And we work on a wide range of platforms, including Shopify, BigCommerce, Nation Builder, Brightpearl, Drupal, Joomla, and lots of others. And a lot of our API work is about helping customers link together some varied systems to streamline their businesses. We do our design and development in-house, and we help with our clients with everything from sort of fast design updates, off-the-shelf software installations, all the way up to bespoke development builds. From scratch. So that's just sort of roughly what PHP Genie is about.
And for those of you that are joining us today that aren't already Brightpearl customers, Brightpearl is cloud software that helps manage the heart of growing retail businesses, orders, inventory, customer data, accounting and reporting, all integrated into one system. With Brightpearl, retailers can have confidence that their inventory and order data is accurate and integrated across all of their channels in one place.
Okay, great, thank you. So that's the agenda for today. What we'll be, hoping that by the end of the session we'll have covered a few of the future e-commerce trends that we think you might want to be thinking about, and hopefully pick up a few hints about what people are doing and a few thoughts about how you might develop your sales channels in the future. And particularly we'll be looking at, I guess, just an overview of where we are now on multi-channel, looking at something known as Omni-Channel Commerce, then looking at integrating your channels, how you can build a personalized customer experience, and we'll also look at brand building and curation online.
Okay, we've got one person saying that they're having problems hearing us, so if you are, could you please just type into the question box. Okay, we'll carry on, but hopefully you can all hear us.
We'll lean slightly closer to the microphone. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, all right then. Okay, all right. Well, we'll crack on. So, multi-channel is quite established now, and I think it's probably fairly well understood. Basically, it refers to being available to sell and then sell to your customers in more than one place and in more than one way. So you might have a physical store, you might have a website selling products, and perhaps some of those products are also listed on eBay. And multi-channel has been a great opportunity to take your products to customers in new ways, and to be where they are. And increasingly, it's something I think that's being demanded by customers who I suppose want to be able to engage with you on their terms. I mean, as businesses have developed more channels, managing those channels has become a bit more complicated, and especially there's issues around inventory management and reconciling orders that are coming from different places. So software like Brightpearl has been designed to help businesses manage that. So Omni-Channel Commerce is really the next stage of development in commerce. And I suppose it's a buzzword really, and it's taken off really in the last 18 months. So the graph that you're looking at there is Google search terms, and so you can see it's a new word and it's taken off pretty quickly, mainly in the US, but it will spread, I think, to other markets quite soon. And although buzzwords do need to be taken with a bit of a pinch of salt, there is meaning behind this one, and that's what we're going to explore today. But basically, it's a word that describes the step beyond multi-channel. It's going to have implications probably for every retailer, and that presents challenges as well as big opportunities. Okay. So, omni-channel in essence, is when multiple channels begin to merge. And so what you'll start to see is lines and distinctions between online and offline sales blurring, and in time they'll actually start to disappear. So on the screen is a picture of an experiment that eBay started running last month in New York. They took 4 empty storefronts and they turned them into essentially 24/7 bricks and mortar stores where you can buy what you see and you can actually have it delivered to you within an hour. So in this example, there are 30 products from Kate Spade Saturday, which is a fashion brand. And you can use the screen on that window to choose what you want and order to have it delivered more or less straight away. And it's a really good example of how online and offline become a bit less relevant as terms, because your customers interact with you sort of online and offline during the course of one transaction. The implication of this sort of technology is that retailers can have live stock information everywhere to minimize the amount of stock that you have to carry. All your channels will be connected through the internet with inventory management software, and your staff can have tablets in store to advise customers what's in stock, what's available where. So for example, if you've got a product, a customer rather, in the shop who likes a particular product but wants it in blue, in future you'll be able to say, yeah, we've got that, and we'll deliver it to you straight away. So there won't be that sort of disconnect that there is now between your shop and your website. Part of that it will revolve around developing in-store Wi-Fi, which will be to help your staff but also help your customers access more information about what you've got available and where. And this sort of thing is starting to happen a little bit already. So for example, you've got Digital Juggler did a survey, and they found that 80% of UK shoppers in 2012 have reserved products online for in-store collection. So it's something that we're starting to sort of move towards. And really, Omni-Channel is about changing how you think in terms of using your different channels and starting to see them as one thing. So one of the most interesting things I think about where we're going is that bricks and mortar stores are going to play a really key role, and in fact online isn't going to supersede offline. So they're actually going to complement each other, and so it's really exciting because it could breathe new life into bricks and mortar. And what you're actually seeing now is that some online retailers are actually opening bricks and mortar stores. Like, they started online only, but they're realizing the benefits of having physical stores as well. And so it won't necessarily be one or the other. Companies are going to look to have them both. Macy's in the US are doing this really well, and their CEO says that now they've got a very blurred experience between online and offline, and he actually says that they wouldn't have the multi-billion .com business if they didn't have the Macy's in-store experience to kind of back it up. And so what you might start to see, I think, is stores becoming showrooms where customers can try things out or try them on, and actually buy in store, but then have those products delivered. And that's going to suit customers who want to buy but don't necessarily want to, or perhaps can't carry the products home right now, but they can have them delivered instead. And there's a big opportunity to sort of, which is what you're looking at on the screen now. There's a real opportunity to use your online channel to add a lot of value to your bricks and mortar stores. And so what we're looking at on the screen is QR codes. They're the most popular way of kind of integrating your channels at the moment. And basically QR codes are square barcodes which you scan on your phone or your tablet, which then take you to a web page. And what's really interesting about using QR codes is that you can use them to, well, customers can be using them to look up extra content. So, for example, in the image on the left-hand side, you can scan the code and you'll be shown a video of that particular product in action. In the middle, that's an advert, or sorry, it's a label for a bike, but you can pull up more detailed specification on that bike. And you can also have customers looking at variations in colour and size. On the right-hand side, there's a company using it to sort of advertise their corporate social responsibility information. And there's all sorts of creative applications for this. So, for example, a customer could think, well, I like these shoes. Does the store have them in size 10? And potentially you can have live stock information available across your stores and online. And so a customer could discover that they like the product that they're looking at, but they want it in blue. It's not in the building, but they can have it delivered to them that afternoon. In bookshops, I think there's a lot of ways you could use this, where there's existing notes on sort of featured books, where they've got personal reviews from the staff. You could actually have QR codes to broaden the number of books, for example, that have a personalised review and a description. And you can also use them for customer reviews, so customers can use their codes to look at a product and see how well that product is rated by other people who've bought it. So it can really adds a lot of kind of richness to the transaction. And people are doing some quite interesting things now in terms of using QR codes on the outside of their stores. So you might want to make sure that, say you close at 6 o'clock, that if anybody arrives at 10 past 6, instead of losing that sale, they can actually use their QR code to look at your catalogue and perhaps buy from you from outside the shop. And what you're looking at there on the screen is going beyond that, where you've got, I guess, what would be a traditional billboard advert, but actually in this case is being used to display products with their prices. You can scan the QR code and you can buy it there and then. We've got one more example of that on the subway in Tokyo. And so it's sort of really imaginative ways of selling your products, I guess, beyond your store, beyond your website, and kind of integrating all of your channels. And I guess that's what we're talking about when we're talking about omni-channel. I thought probably it's worth mentioning tablets as point-of-sale systems. They're becoming more popular and they're changing what's possible in stores. So as well as using them to speed up your processes by linking them to your management software, so which reduces administration, reduces costs, they also offer your staff the chance to go mobile and to take payments of products anywhere in the store. And staff can also see what's available where, so and sort of varieties of products. So so you don't have the red one of that in stock, but it is available, and you can sell the customer exactly what they want, and it will be delivered to them. And it's just kind of changing our thinking really about, as I say, about whether it's in the shop or it's not in the shop or it's on the website. It's about thinking about, yeah, we've got that product, and it's just going to be about how we actually get that to you. So channel integration is something is happening now. And first of all, I mean, retailers need a platform that allows brand consistency. So that's not just in terms of design, but it's also in terms of your promotions, your offers, your user interface across every channel. So that could be a store, kiosk, online, or mobile. And what we're trying to achieve really with integration is a single customer relationship. So we've already seen how customers might move through more than one channel on a single purchase. And so as that's starting to happen more and more, like, it's really, really important that the experience looks, feels and acts the same throughout, whether they're speaking to somebody in your shop or they're on your website or they're looking through your catalogue on their phone. And so it is partly about designing the user experience, but it's about thinking as well about your style of communication, your language, the pricing that you use, your discounts and your campaigns, and just making sure that those feel consistent wherever people are engaging with your business. So responsive customer-facing designs. I mean, you probably know that it's thought that you've got less than about 10 seconds to catch a visitor's attention before you lose them. And responsive design plays quite a key role here. Because sites need to be responsive, so they change their spots, if you like, for different devices, but they still need to feel consistent. So responsive design means that as you adjust the size of the browser window, or you look at the site on a different device, the site changes how big it is and its arrangement of content so that it still looks at its best and it's still accessible no matter what device a visitor's using. And images are going to play a bigger role in terms of getting responsive designs working, because searching for stuff on a smaller screen is harder, especially if you're trying to search for multiple variables. So responsive design, good responsive design, is going to be about being proactive in terms of serving up stuff that people actually want to see, and moving a bit away from asking them to search for it. Okay, so while we're talking about mobile devices, you'll know that tablet use has exploded. And this graphic is from Adobe. It's using 2011 data, but you could see that even then, shoppers who were using tablets were converting sales almost as often as people on laptops and PCs, and in actual fact that they were spending more when they were making those purchases. So tablet users are more affluent, which makes it well worth getting a strong responsive experience to make sure that you're getting those conversions from tablet shoppers. Tablets are becoming more affordable, so it's probably that'll change slightly, I guess, in terms of the affluence. But tablets are now shipping more than laptops and PCs. So really competing, I suppose, in the tablet arena, if you like, is something that's going to be more and more important for retailers. Okay, another trend that we're seeing now is the 90-minute city delivery. And that's really changing. I mean, it's rolling out very quickly across UK cities.
It's a personal favourite of mine.
Yeah. It's blurring the line between your online and your offline, because there isn't, as we said, you could go into a store, buy something in the store, and because it arrives so soon, it feels like one consistent experience. And it's going to be a bit like how Amazon shifted expectations with Super Saver free delivery. I think this is going to change things again. And what it'll look like is that there's going to be lots of fast, small couriers moving away from kind of large, say, trucks and vans and the sort of more traditional methods of delivery, and it's much more about getting that supply chain working perfectly. And I think there's an opportunity for retailers here to get ahead, because this is that's what customers are going to start expecting soon, especially in cities. But what it also is a great opportunity to keep your store stock levels down, but by still making sales, because you can offer someone a product when they're in store on your lunch break, saying that they'll have it delivered to their office when they get back in. So you perhaps only need to have one of those things in the city at a central distribution place, or perhaps at one of the stores, knowing that you can still sell that without having, so you can actually reduce how much stock you have to carry. There's all sorts of reasons to be interested in that and to be thinking about how you can take advantage of that change. I think just before I dive into personalized customer experience, I just wanted to mention, I think it's worth thinking about what other platforms, kind of beyond the obvious ones, might be suitable for retailers. The American website Yelp don't sell products themselves, but they list businesses, and they've already got something called Top Tables, which is functionality where you can book a table through the website at a restaurant. But what they're talking about now is actually, can they develop more ways for customers to actually finish their transactions while they're on the website? So I mention it really just because it's always worth thinking, okay, what other places can we be can we be putting our products? What other platforms might they be suitable for? Who's doing things which might, beyond a bricks and mortar store or beyond your website? There might be other ways that people will buy from you, and it is worth sort of keeping that in mind, really. Do you want to mention about the brewery company? So
Yeah.
I think that's a great example in terms of broadening the reach of a great product.
Yeah, I'm sure one of our customers won't mind me mentioning that they sell home brewing kits, and they sort of had it in their mind that perhaps it wasn't the most fashionable product at the moment. So I sort of enlightened them on the fact that home brewing is sort of undergoing quite a big revival, and sort of showed them some areas where they might want to start advertising their products to a younger audience. So always worth thinking about places that you can get your products to a new audience, and there's lots of web platforms and sites out there that will help you do that.
Great. So this slide's about personalizing your customer experience, and I think really this is where e-commerce is heading, and I think it's going to be increasingly demanded by customers who are going to appreciate having a tailor-made experience with retailers that they use, and they'll probably keep coming back if retailers can get that right. So Forrester Research, I think that the first bullet point there I think is really interesting, because there's a prediction that next year in the US there's going to be 4 million new online customers, but that's tailing off. And so I think the conclusion might be that most of the people who are comfortably buying online, who are comfortable buying online, are already doing it. ComScore found that 70% of US internet users made at least one purchase in the second quarter of 2011. So I think what that's going to mean is that there's going to be an increasing importance on retaining your existing customers and getting them to buy more from you. So what I wanted to do is look at a bit about what you can actually do now. Cart recovery is something that is really effective and is addressing a big issue. So you'll probably know that 7 out of 10 shoppers abandon their shopping carts with products still in them. And good cart recovery can create conversion rates as high as 45% for the targeted audience. And good timing with this is what can make all the difference in terms of closing that sale. And that includes kind of having an immediate response to abandoned carts. And like good practice is to send something within the first hour after they abandon it. I mean, they might have encountered a problem finalising the purchase, and you can offer them some information to complete that. You can follow up a day later with an email to reassure them that their abandoned cart is still available online. They can go back and it's still there. And you can also email a week later with perhaps a special discount or an offer on that product which might tempt them to come back, or you can cross-sell offering related products. While we're sort of talking about I guess closing the sale, it's really important to have a clear message about shipping costs. Forrester Research have found that one of the most important reasons for people abandoning their carts is because the shipping and the handling is too high. So if you're able to address this somehow, then the chances of closing that sale will be much higher. So I think it's worth bearing that in mind in terms of how much of an impact that has on your customers actually completing their purchases. There's a few other bits and pieces that that I think we can look at, including loyalty programs. I think they're worth investigating. Partly because, well, hopefully they engender customer loyalty. But actually the key thing for the business is that you can learn as much as possible about your customers so that you can offer them a personalized experience that makes them want to come back. You should also make sure that you provide a guest checkout. Get Elastic did some research and found that a quarter of shoppers abandon their purchase if they're asked to register before buying. So as much as obviously we want to try and get some information about the customer to build that relationship, there's no point throwing away the sale, so having a guest checkout is good. And it's also important to try to aim for no more than 4 checkout steps. Otherwise people just, they get bored and you can lose them. And I think another interesting sort of aspect is engaging with negative reviews. And I think it's, especially if you're dealing with loyal customers, I think as a business, I think it's good to be clear through the business how you're going to respond if you do get negative reviews. Because if you respond proactively, you resolve someone's issue quickly, you can not only win them back but actually turn them into an ambassador for you. And those are things that when we're thinking about retaining existing customers and developing them into kind of long-standing loyal customers, some of these things are going to be quite useful, I think. So personalized engagement, I think, is going to be the competitive advantage in the future. Forrester have done Forrester Research, which actually have done an awful lot of good research in the field, which is why I quote them quite a lot. They think that 62% of online shoppers, when they surveyed them, found personalization useful. And so good personalization is really about, it's about trying to develop the sort of relationship that you'd have with somebody if you recognize their face when they came into your shop. So doing user-specific promotions are an example of how in the future, like, you can have a more dynamic e-commerce experience, and that's going to change the way that we shop online. You'll go to a website and you'll be offered an offer. You'll be offered a discount on a product, or sort of an offer for buying more things, and that offer will just be offered to you based on what that business knows about you and your interests. And if you can tap into that data, if you tap into the data about what your visitors have purchased, how often they visit, what offers they've responded to, and also see whether they share any traits with other customers. All of these things can tell you about what products they might be interested in, and eventually you can get to a point where when they visit your site, you're actually offering them the stuff that you know that they're gonna like. And I think there's this is quite, I guess, young in terms of e-commerce, because bricks and mortar stores have been doing this for centuries, I guess. But if you can learn about what a customer is interested in, if you can see that a customer's come back to your website maybe 2 or 3 times and they've looked at the same product but they haven't bought, if you can see that, gauge their level of interest, and then you can offer them a discount on that item the next time they visit, just for them, they'll probably buy from you because they feel like they're getting a good deal. And it's that sort of thing which, like I say, is quite young in e-commerce, but the companies that get there first are going to be the ones with the advantage. Okay, we're going to look at brand building in Curations now, and both of those are really powerful new drivers in e-commerce. I don't know how many of you use Pinterest. I don't personally.
I do.
You do? Okay. Do you want to tell us why you use it?
Well, it's a great place to sort of get inspiration for art and lots of things. But for shopping in particular, you get to share with your friends brands that you like, styles that you like, and items that interest you. So I think it's becoming increasingly useful where sort of lifestyle and brand sharing is getting increasingly common.
There's a sort of, I think what Pinterest is showing is that people have got a trust a trust in the things that are curated, if you like, by friends and family. So they'll buy things that their friends and family have bought or like, or if they can see that something's kind of I don't know, in trend.
Aspirational.
Aspiration, that's the good word. And actually, this stuff is it's word of mouth, and it's really powerful. and curation can reach people in a way that normal selling techniques can't. And so I think Pinterest and other things like that are really, really interesting tools for retailers, because you can't use them with the hard sell, or actually with very much of a sell at all. It's all about people sharing things that they aspire to have, and you've got to do it in a very soft way. But the best way to use things like Pinterest is to get your customers to share your product, and that is super powerful if you can get that happening. And I think what's driving things like Pinterest is that because as the internet continues to grow, there's just so much content that curation is becoming more and more important, and people are they're interested in websites that will show them things that interest them all in one place, and stuff like Pinterest does that. And so what's important here is to make sure that it's easy for your customers to pin your products on their boards, and you're encouraging them to do that if they like your stuff, and it will give you a level of peer endorsement that you can't get otherwise. There was an interesting survey by iBid which found that 71% of shoppers say that reviews from friends or family exert a great deal or a fair amount of influence on what they go on to buy. And what a couple of other, so if you can sort of work out a way of tapping into that, you'll be ahead. And so in terms of Pinterest, as well as the links and encouraging people to share, you've got to be using top quality photography, and you've also got to be using great personal descriptions, which is what we'll touch on that in a minute. And you can also use things like Pinfluencer and Pintix to analyze how well you're doing. And if there's any, we can probably go forward so you can see a picture of Pinterest. That's it. I mean, you're probably familiar with that, I guess. And I think to prove the point in terms of how important this is going to be, we can go to the next slide, which is an example of a front page from eBay, who in February launched a new personalized feed, which is a bit like Pinterest. So obviously there you've got a random collection of products, because I wasn't logged into eBay. But if you are logged in and then you've got a history of buying things, you'll be able to follow certain categories, follow certain types of products. And when you go back to eBay, it'll show you those things that you're interested in. So it's going to be less about the sort of old kind of search-orientated model and more about this kind of discovery thing. And interestingly, what eBay are hoping is that they think that the search model, in terms of typing words in and especially multiple variables to find the right product, they think that actually appeals more to men, but that this sort of discovery type of approach actually appeals more to women shoppers. So I think that's worth being aware of in terms of who you'd be doing this for. And eBay have said that they think that mobile shopping is shortly going to be the dominant way that actually people buy on eBay. And so what they're going for is a different user experience, because you can't really use your phone to type in loads of parameters, or it's fiddly, but actually discovering stuff like that is going to be much easier for people. So I think around that kind of curation, I think is important to be aware of. And I guess the key message is that it's about getting your customers to share your products with their friends, and however you can, when you can actually make that happen, that's really, really powerful, and is a type of marketing that you just can't buy.
We've seen similar things like that with Facebook. More companies are taking their products to Facebook and asking people to like them, so that that brand is then recognised with all of their friends.
Okay, so we're going to look at briefly at brand building. So brand building in offline retailing is really well established, and what it's about is customers visiting certain stores, expecting a certain type of experience, and also a certain type of product. And often what you'll find is that people who enjoy shopping, they will just go shopping and they'll go to a shop that they associate with, not necessarily knowing what sort of product they're looking for, but knowing that when they go into that store, they're going to be shown things that they're going to like because they associate with that. And translating that experience, that association with a brand into an online or into the internet and to a website, I think is going to be a defining feature for the coming years. As online stores, I think, shift to build brands that customers keep referring to, which is going back to the idea that retaining your customers is going to be as important and possibly more important than getting new ones. And it's all about finding ways to know what your customers are interested in, serving them that sort of product, and then they'll start returning to you in the same way that they walk into a shop on the high street. Okay, we're going to look at product reviews and descriptions, because there's something that we've looked at some of the things which are a few years down the line, but this is something that you can get on with now. And actually, good reviews and good descriptions make all the difference between a sale being won or a sale being lost. And product reviews, which we've got an example of on the left, are vital to get hold of. But then it's vital that you also display that on your product pages. And I mean, I'm sure we'll all probably be familiar with this. So customers sometimes find that they trust other customers more than they trust the company from which they're thinking of buying. KISS metrics say that 70% of shoppers are looking for reviews of products on online stores or forums before they're making a purchase. And that's something that I can definitely kind of associate with, because I very rarely buy something without reading customer reviews. And customer reviews also find their way up, pages with reviews on them also find their way up the search rankings more easily than simple selling pages. And the good thing about positive reviews of your products is that your service is that your customers are creating unique original content for you, which is saving you a huge amount of time in terms of writing that. And it's also boosting your search engine rankings at the same time. So I think what's important there is to go out of your way to ask customers to write a review during the purchase with follow-up emails, and actually directly ask customers where possible if they'll go online and review your service. Last year I stayed in a B&B, and sort of the next week I got a personally written email from the landlady asking me to go online and review the place. And it was kind of, so nicely written that I did. I gave them a good review, and it's that sort of thing. Is if you can take the extra time to get a good review, that'll make quite a difference. And going back to the sort of the omni-channel idea, it may be possible to get your staff in your if your bricks and mortar stores to actually take their tablet over and ask customers in store perhaps to leave a review of the shop while they're there, which I think is something that if you can look at doing that, I think that's going to help. In terms of product descriptions, and I think on the right hand side of the screen you're looking at is a good example of a product description. It's really important that retailers take time to write great product descriptions which are specific to your company and that don't follow the standard manufacturer's description. I mean, really, I think what it comes down to is that people buy from people. So a great personal description is going to read better than the generic one that comes from the manufacturer or that's associated with the product. And also, search engines actually penalise duplicate content. So you'll be at an advantage compared to your competitors if you've taken the time to write original content to put on there. And so it's one of the things that is important, I guess, to point out here is that great photographs are really important to sell the product, but search engines can't read images, they can just read the words around them. And so some retailers, I think, rely on the photographs too much, in the sense that there isn't enough text for the search engines to find that product and to rank it highly. So it's really important, even if it's a highly visual product that relies on photographs to sell it, that you've got great written descriptions which are going to be driving traffic to your site in the first place. And I mean, one of the examples, I guess, of of original content driving traffic is that at PHP Genie's website, we get a vast amount of our traffic from the blogs that we put up, and that's it's original content, and obviously we're trying to write content that's going to be of interest to customers and to potential customers. And the blog content, because it's fresh and it's original, finds its way up the search engines more easily than we can achieve with our standard static pages. Shopify, actually, I've got some great tips on descriptions. And it's around, well, some of it's around focusing on your ideal buyer. So don't write for everybody, otherwise you'll kind of entice no one. So it's kind of thinking choosing the right words to entice the customers that you're interested in. Make sure that you talk about what benefits are in it for them, and avoid yeah phrases, and also avoid superlatives. So don't say excellent product quality. Try to be specific about why the product is so good. And I think the Sperry topsider angelfish shoes are quite good. They're very specific. They don't use a word without justifying what it's for, and it's all about this feature is going to be good for you because of this. And I think what's really nice, and you do see it a lot, but perhaps not enough, is retailers appealing to kind of your readers, your customers' imagination, and using mini stories. And I think where lots of us are actually, I guess, going to be small or medium-sized companies, we're going to have quite personal stories to tell about how we started, who's making our product, what inspired us, the obstacles to get there, how the product was tested, and things like that. And I think if you can get to telling a personal story, I think that grabs people, and it's also playing on your strength, really, and in terms of being a small organisation. And you should also, where possible, try to make your description scannable, so it's kind of quick information, and that's it. So that's hopefully that I sort of spent a bit of time on reviews and descriptions, because I think, like I say, that's something that we can all be getting on with now, and kind of driving traffic, hopefully, while we're thinking about some of the other things that we've looked at.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Tom. I hope you found that all interesting. I know I certainly did. There's no doubt that there's very exciting things on the horizon for retailers, and we're both very happy that we're being part of that. Just got some information here. For those of you that aren't familiar with Brightpearl or PHP Genie, some information on how to get in touch with us. We've got the question box open, so if anyone has any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. We've got one from James that says, will it be possible to get hold of a list of the source URLs used for the slides? Absolutely. We're recording this, so we'll publish that afterwards, and James, I'll make sure that the URLs are sent to you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone that's asked for URLs, I'll get those sent out. I've got a question here from Tim. It says, if you're selling across multiple channels, store, eBay, Amazon, should each have a unique product description for each channel for SEO purposes?
That's a good question. I think there is an argument to tailor. I mean, I don't think you probably have to write totally new descriptions, but I think there is an argument for writing slightly different ones, tailored, I guess, to the audiences that perhaps you're likely to be finding on your different channels. And I guess on the, if you talked about store, eBay, and Amazon, I think you're probably slightly different audience, perhaps a slightly different type of environment that you're selling in. I think there's an argument for doing it for that reason, definitely.
Okay, we've got a question from Rory here for Tom. You mentioned driving traffic to your site via blogs. How do you think inbound marketing will change in the future? What are customers looking for?
I think, thanks a lot, Rory. I think um, what's been interesting for me, kind of, getting involved in this work, is that what I suppose I've seen how powerful educational material is instead of, I guess, the hard sell. I know that's something that sort of Brightpearl are really keen on, and they produce really excellent information and guides in terms of developing your business. And I think this sort of, I think blogs are useful, and I think infographics are useful, and I think sharing your knowledge, really, but not in a kind of salesy way, sharing your knowledge in a way that people are going to find interesting, even if they're not actually going to be your customers. I think what it's about is kind of building a long-term reputation for yourself and your expertise. I mean, personally, sort of even putting together the slides for today, I spent a lot of time looking at people's blogs and reading people's views and looking at what people were doing to sort of, just to see what all the new trends were. And I think that's really powerful, and it does take time, actually, making time sort of in the day or the week to sort of write original content. But I think if you can take time out and do that, particularly if you're sort of running the business and you're, I don't know, you know it inside out and you know the history of it, I think your perspective is going to be really relevant to people who are on your site.
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks for mentioning our Brightpearl CA 101 zone there, Tom. We've also got a Brightpearl event on next Wednesday in Manchester and Liverpool, so if any of our UK viewers are there, please feel free to email me afterwards for details. We'd love to see you there. We have a question here from Kit. Should one have a different online sales approach if selling in both US and European client bases? Well, I think this goes back to what Tom said. It's really important to think about your the customer persona, what kind of customer you're looking for, and who they are and what that might look like. So if you feel that your market in the US and the UK or European client bases is the same, then I'd imagine you'd probably keep that model the same. But as Tom says, tailoring things to suit the product that you're selling and the customer you're looking for is important, and it just shows that sort of more bespoke touch.
Great. Ali has asked, looking at the future e-commerce market, what do we think will be the most important thing to concentrate and invest time on? I think probably it's going to be about getting all your channels integrated properly. So that's about making sure that your website is responsive and is really good responsive, and about making sure that the language that you use on Twitter, on Facebook, on your store, on the telephone, in your emails, just sounds the same, so that if someone tweets you and then later on you speak to them, later in the week you speak to them to I don't know, develop the relationship or talk about a sale or something, that it sounds like they're talking to the same business, basically, the same people, and that applies if you've got a bricks and mortar store. I think it has to feel consistent, particularly because where you've got customers who will, it's happening already in some places, but it's going to become standard. People are starting a purchase on one channel and then finishing it in another, and it's going to, retailers will lose sales if it's confusing and it feels like suddenly you're speaking to a different business. So I think probably that integration, I'd say, is the most important.
And don't forget that the Brightpearl Customer Success team are more than happy to discuss any sort of areas you'd like to concentrate on and perhaps tailor a response to this. more specific to your business and your products. So feel free to email me after the webinar, and we'll arrange a chat. Okay.
The question from James, really good question actually, about for websites that are responsive and are designed to deal with tablets and mobile, and the question's about should the website cater for the lowest common denominator, i.e. like a mobile phone screen, or concentrate on having a main site with all the bells and whistles for desktops and then a mobile site separately that caters for mobile users. I think there's there are instances, I think, where having a mobile app or something, I think there's still a business case for that sometimes, particularly if you want, like, I don't know, geotagging or particular features that, excuse me, that you need to build into an app. But, sorry, just have a glass of water. Sorry. I think actually you can probably do both now, James, I think, because the most advanced responsive designs, on a desktop everything's there, but then as you narrow it down to a tablet and then down to a mobile, what you do is you have different menus essentially, and you start hiding the information. So you have bigger buttons, bigger text, just the very key messages, and a lot of the extra stuff falls away or falls down sort of to the bottom of the page. It might still be visible, but only if you go looking for it. But you design it so that when the at the break points, that on a mobile, your customer is just getting the key messages. So I think it's more possible now to have it all on one website, but it is important to get to do the responsiveness really well, I guess.
Okay, Matt's got a question here. Matt's got an e-commerce niche store in the UK and is now setting up a US-only e-commerce store in the same niche. In terms of video content, would you market them together or separately? It's an interesting question. I think it goes back to, again, thinking about your target customer. And obviously at Brightpearl we've got a US and a UK office, so we're familiar with the challenges of marketing to US and UK customers, and all of Europe as well. But so there are challenges, and of course there are a few things that differ. Obviously currencies are a main one, so costs might be different and something that you need to consider. But in terms of blanket marketing, it depends on that content was advertising, I suppose.
I think it does. Yeah, Matt, I think it's a really interesting point. I think it depends a bit about, so I'm thinking about the video content that you mentioned. So should the video content, would you market that together or separately across the Atlantic? I guess it depends on what the product is and what your company is, because there might be advantages, or it might be part of your strategy in the US market to I guess be advertising yourself and talking about yourself as a British company, based here, and that might be part of your story, and in which case I'd say do it together, because that's really part of your what you want people to sort of think of you as a business. But if that's less important and it's more just about kind of that market penetration, it might be that the sort of the US marketing techniques are a little bit different, and you might want to think about, I don't know, perhaps having the sort of, whether it's having the American accent, listening a bit to sort of what the marketing trends are there at the moment versus here. So I think once you know that, I think it's sort of I think that will point you in the sort of what you're trying to put across. I think that will guide you, I suppose.
Thanks for your comments there, Bryce. Yes, Bryce, this is being recorded, and I'll make sure that gets sent out to everyone afterwards. We would love to start getting some Brightpearl, some of the guys in our Brightpearl US office to start delivering some webinars with us, so you might soon start hearing some more American accents.
Yeah, Bryce, I'm not sure. I don't know, perhaps by your comment, do you mean that there isn't just one American accent? I'm probably generalizing. I think that might be what you mean, and you're quite right. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and yeah, we'll make sure that you get the webinar.
Okay, I think that we have one more question. What are the some common? You're talking about our Brightpearl and BigCommerce integration. If you are in the process of implementing Brightpearl with BigCommerce, then I'd love to speak to you. So I think I'll follow this one up offline afterwards and find out whereabouts you are in that project.
Okay, Bryce says he's enjoying the English accent, so we're very pleased about that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's been absolutely great having you all here today, and I want to thank you for joining us. And if you've got any more questions, feel free to email them to us afterwards. And thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.